Hey guys, how's it going? It's the Crypto Analyst here, and I hope all of you guys are having a good morning, evening, wherever you guys are from, and welcome back to another Bitcoin technical analysis. And in today's video, I want to talk about how Bitcoin is seemingly riding resistance here, but possibly setting up a bull flag. I also want to look at some of the important indicators and oscillators on the 4-hour and the 1-day chart, diving into this and explaining where I believe the price action of Bitcoin and the crypto market is going to be going in the short and medium term future. So if you guys are interested, go and stick around for today's video, and do not forget to hit the like and subscribe button, as it does help out the channel a lot. But that being said, let's go ahead and dive on into this, because as we mentioned in the live stream last night, there is some significant divergence actually happening over here on Bitcoin, and I would say the first one really being that we are getting rejected from this resistance trend line since our most recent swing high up to almost $4,200 and really just below that. So now with this continuing over here and us seeing multiple rejections in this area, it does make me a little bit bearish. However, in the overall, even though you are seeing rejection from this trend line, and again, from looking at past rejection from this trend line, yes, it does lead ultimately to the downside. However, this time it could be a little bit different, because now we're not just wicking back down and having these candle breakdowns, but instead what's happening over here is we're actually kind of having this downward slope of consolidation, which is often considered to be a bull flag scenario. So is this just essentially the bull pull bull flag combo happening over here? And it's very it's a very good possibility that that is the case, and we could actually be looking to a breakout over here. And overall, if we want to look at the overall triangle over here, what we can actually say is that this could just be a giant pennant, and this could be a giant bull pull bull flag scenario, saying, okay, well, this is our bull pull and the pennant is our bull flag, and this could ultimately lead towards a breakout up to around $4,200 if it can break out towards the upside. But looking at some of the important indicators and oscillators over here, what you can see is that your MACD is clearly rounding lower than it was on its last swing high over here. And generally, when the MACD starts rounding off like this does mean that there is downside. However, despite your MACD rounding for a good solid couple of candles over here on your MACD, the price action really hasn't moved anywhere. And so that's something that I think is pretty bullish for me, is to see that even though your MACD is rounding down, and it has been rounding down now for like at least 5 or 6 candles on your 4-hour MACD, your price action really hasn't moved too far from its initial peak. Right now it's about $4,005, peaked around $4,034, so it's really only $25 apart from where its previous high was over here. And so for this to be so little of a gap from its previous high, and yet falling so hard on its MACD, that is telling me that there's a lot of strength in this area, because despite losing momentum on your MACD, you're keeping the US dollar pairing price on Bitcoin for the moment being. I think the RSI was something that looked pretty bearish to me, because it was seeing lower consistent swing highs over here, as we can highlight 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 now consistent lower swing highs on your RSI, showing that definitely that the bulls are getting really weak, and this does make me very nervous. So I think this is one of those do or die moments where it's going to have to say, all right, well, we either break this trend and we get a higher high on our RSI, showing that our relative strength index is still strong and that the bulls are still capable to make a run here, or we kind of say, all right, this is actually getting pretty exhausted, which is what it looks like over here. This comes back down, sets a higher low, and then ultimately looks like a really bullish scenario, because what we can do over here is, if we can say, okay, well, we have 1, 2, and then maybe somewhere over in here 3 higher swing lows, this thing's actually showing lots of really good strength over here, and we could actually look for a very nice run towards the upside. So say if we do something like this, then ultimately I think we'd break the cycle and then come back up into this overbought territory and have a really nice potential bullish scenario for Bitcoin. So looking at this on the overall scale, I do have 2 ultimate targets. The first one being $4,200 to the upside, and the other one being around $3,575 to the downside. So if it can get up to $4,200, the big thing that everyone's knowing, the one thing that I've been talking about a lot, is that you have this giant ascending triangle in play. If it can get back up to $4,200, again, it's tested it several times already. It is very possible that it could break if it can get back up there. I think it's really on this point right now, and so we're trying to decide, is this rejection or is this a bull flag? That's one of the things that you can argue over here. It is a little bit more complicated, because if we go and look at this on the daily, the MACD and the RSI certainly don't look quite as good as the 4-hour. What you can see over here is 1, 2, 3 lower swing highs on your MACD daily chart. Not good thing to see over here. Your indicators look kind of just exhausted. They look like they need to come take a breather and come back down. But you could also kind of argue the opposite, saying that there's bearish exhaustion over here, and then upon every time coming to the lower side on your MACD, it's really not going anywhere, saying that just the bears are so weak in this area. They've been going so strong for so long that they're just at a point of exhaustion and weak, and you could just kind of argue for that as well. However, looking at this kind of from an overall perspective, I do see this as bearish divergence. We'll have to see. It really didn't play out too strong before. Now we're kind of looking to see, okay, well, do we get quadruple bearish divergence on our daily MACD, or is this cycle actually just going to end up in being broken? Moving over to the RSI, something that I was highlighting over here. We still have all of our stuff highlighted from our 4-hour chart, so sorry if it looks a little bit clunky. But this is the other thing that I was looking for, is just consistent lower swing highs on your daily RSI as well. So this one is, I would say, a little bit less reliable, just because of how far apart these lower swing highs are. I mean, you could argue that this is a lower swing high, but it's almost at a point of neutrality where it's at 61, and with the 50 range being a neutral level for the RSI, it's one of those things where, I don't know, it'd be different if this was going from like a 91 to like a 77, then to like a 70, and saying that that was lower swing highs. But to have lower swing highs in this area, although it is a daily chart, I am a little bit skeptical, because this can certainly push up a little bit higher. So looking at this in the overall scale, I think that the overall scale on the daily chart looks obviously very bullish. Maybe we come back down to support, as I mentioned, maybe around 35, 75 before rallying back up. Maybe we just come back down to around 3,900 before rallying back up. It's going to be one of those things that we're really going to have to wait to see. I am not trading Bitcoin at the moment. It does look like it's kind of a clear sign of rejection. We'll have to wait for this new daily candle to start. But from a daily's perspective, you see rejection here, rejection here. You wicked up, got rejection, and now this new candle closed, and it's looking like it's breaking down. So on a daily chart, I don't think it looks too good. Again, plenty of time for this to break. Ultimately, I think it's going to be one of those scenarios where, is this going to be a bull flag, or is this just going to be straight rejection after rejection? And that's where it really gets hard, because yes, this is downward sloping consolidation, but in the same time, these are all just the rejection candles. So it's going to be one of those things where you're going to have to really kind of wait and find out to see, are the bulls stronger or are the bears stronger? People are taking bets on this. I know people who are taking shorts. I know people who are taking longs. Personally, I'm not in either of those at the moment, at least not on Bitcoin. I do have a trade on an altcoin going, and if you're Patreon, you know what that is. So yeah, this is pretty much covering Bitcoin right now. Again, it's one of those times where I wouldn't be surprised if it broke towards the upside. It would make sense, and I wouldn't be surprised if it broke towards the downside. Ideally, I actually would like to say I would like to see this break down. Ultimately, I do want us to test support one more time, somewhere around 3,500. If we can't, maybe even just around the 200 EMA one more time. It is good to see how strong the 200 EMA is holding. The 50 EMA not being quite as well respected in the recent price action area, but the 200 EMA has been getting used very, very well. And so I think as long as we're in this, it's really going to be one of those things, because while pennants can lean towards either a bullish or a bearish scenario, pennants are ultimately a relatively neutral formation and continuation pattern. So while this is leaning probably maybe 60-40 in the direction of the bulls, just because of this breaking up and then forming a pennant, I think even then it might just be like a 45-55, and I'm kind of leaning that it'll actually break down here. So I'm not surprised either way. It's a pennant, it's a symmetrical triangle, it's a neutral formation pattern, and this thing could really shoot one of two directions, and I'm not too worried about it, and I won't be surprised either way that it breaks. Now, I will be surprised if we just go sideways through this consolidation. I think that that is the least likely scenario, but it's one of those ones that certainly could happen nonetheless. So I want to know your guys' thoughts on this. Where's Bitcoin going from here? Is this a bull flag, or is this just clear rejection candles? Are we going to go up, and are we going to see $4,200 and maybe even break this resistance, or are we coming down to relative support? Some people seem to think that we're coming in for new lows below the 3K range, and other people seem to think that we're going to $5,500. So I want to know your guys' thoughts on this in the comment section down below. Let me know your guys' thoughts. If you guys enjoyed the video, do not forget to hit the like and subscribe button, as it does help out the channel a lot, and I will see you guys in the next video.